welcome back to Catholic Home Life. My name is Lindsay, and today I wanted to do a homemaker tag, and I was tagged by Laura from What Laura Likes. That's her channel. I will have her channel linked down below, and she did her own video and then she tagged me, so I thought that would be a fun thing to participate in. And I just have a list of questions here, so I will ask the question and then give you the answer. And here we go. The first question is, growing up, did you want to become a homemaker? If not, what did you see yourself doing? Now, first I've got to say, I know that the term homemaker refers to people that are at home and they don't have a job outside the home, but I kind of disagree with that terminology. I think that anybody who has a home is a homemaker, whether you're working or whether you're at home full-time. Because even if you're working, you're still making your home the place that you live in, and it's your home. So I just want to clarify that I think a homemaker, it doesn't mean that you are only at home. I think that people who work are also homemakers, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, being a homemaker, like being at home full-time, when I was growing up, I think that I did want to be a homemaker, but I remember people asking me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say, oh, just a mom. And now that really bothers me that I said just a mom, because I think being a mom it's a big job and it shouldn't be belittled in any way. I do remember that was my answer when people asked me that question, and I remember getting weird responses like, oh, why would you want to do that? And things like that. I also was very interested in teaching, and I was a teacher before I got married and had children, and I considered going back and continue teaching, but once I had my children, my first son, I didn't want to leave him, and I just wanted to be at home with him, and then I felt called to homeschool, and it kind of just led into that. So I'm very busy at home and homeschooling and all of that. Also, before I was married, I worked at a nursing home for elderly with dementia, and I loved that job. It was a very low-paying job, so I couldn't have really had it as a career, but I was a caregiver for them, and I loved that job. I loved taking care of the elderly, especially the vulnerable people with dementia. My heart is with them. I love taking care of them. That was a job that I had, and I could see doing something like that too if I wasn't busy with my children and homeschooling and all of that. The second question is, what did your husband think about you wanting to be a homemaker? Well, my husband, he kind of grew up with his mom largely in that role as a stay-at-home mom. She did have some jobs here and there, but mostly she was available to take care of things around the home and make the meals and be there for the children. So when he and I were dating, I think that when we talked about these things, we were in total agreement about wanting me to stay at home with any children that God blessed us with, because he really valued his mother and the role that she had in his life. I also think, though, that if I had some sort of career ambition, that he would support me in that, and our life would be very different, but I think that he would be open to that, definitely. Just like he was open to me having this YouTube channel. So he's just very supportive of me, and that's one of the things that I love about him. Number 3, why do you think homemaking is so important? And like I said at the beginning of this video, I think that anyone who has a home and lives in a home is a homemaker. And I think it's so important because it's the heart of the home is the heart of our culture. And when you have a good, strong home life, I think that benefits the whole of society. So for me, I find so much value and so much worth in the work that I do at home, even though some of the things are so repetitive and they seem kind of trivial. They're not trivial at all, and it's just really important work. Even scrubbing the toilets, even though that's my least favorite job, I like to think about all the people in my family and think that I'm blessing them by doing this work and serving my family. So I think that the things that we do in our home are some of the most important things that we'll do in our life. The next question is, how do you think your family would function if you went back to work? Well, I think my kids would have to go to school somewhere. They'd probably go to our local Catholic school, which is a wonderful, wonderful school. So we'd probably put them in school. And then I'm sure we would have to do things differently with the activities that our kids are involved in, and share more of the household chores and divide it more evenly, since we would all be gone most of the day. So it would just be a very different life, but I'm sure we would adjust if something happened and God changed our life in that way. I know that we would adjust to it. The fifth question is, what were some of the things that you had to sacrifice in order to stay home with your family? Like I said, I was a teacher before I was home with my children, and I basically sacrificed that job, although it was hard at first to leave the workforce and be at home. I remember thinking, like, what do I do all day? And especially when I had 1 and 2 kids that were really little, I would get a little bit antsy because I wasn't that busy. And now that I have 4 children and we're really homeschooling more intensely, I feel like there's never enough time in the day to get things done, and my to-do list is miles long. I'm sure all of you can relate. Another sacrifice, I guess, is that we are just living off of 1 income, but so far, since we've done that since the beginning of our marriage, we just haven't been used to having 2 incomes to begin with. So it doesn't seem like a sacrifice because we've never had it, and God has just blessed us so that we can live off of 1 income. And the last question is, any advice you'd give to women wanting to become homemakers? Okay, my advice would be to definitely talk to your husband about it and try to figure out a way, maybe go over your budget and try to figure out things that you could cut out, or just trying to figure out a way if it's at all possible. I know that for some people it isn't possible, and I think in that case you just have to trust God that He will provide for you, whether you are needing to work or if you're able to stay at home, that you're just cooperating with God in His plan for you. I know that there's many women that work and that want to work and they have career ambitions, and I think that that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think of Saint Gianna Molla, who was a doctor, and how God called her to be a doctor. So I think that God can call women to work for sure. If you decide that you are able to afford to stay at home, then I would also say that just to be prepared that you are home a lot and doing repetitive things all the time. And I actually, on Instagram recently, someone that I follow was talking about this very same thing, how it's just so repetitive, the dishes, the laundry, the cleaning, all of that. And someone told her that if you think about God, He works in repetition. So like the sun is rising every day and setting every night, and the repetition of the seasons, and just how God works within repetition, and that when you enter into that in your own life, that it's kind of a reflection of how God works in the world through repeating Himself over and over, and that there is holiness that can be found within that. So I thought that was really beautiful, because sometimes the chores can be so repetitive and you can feel a little bit crazy, like you're doing it all the time. But I thought that that was a really beautiful thing. The other thing that I would recommend if you have children and you're at home with them is to really hold on to something that we call quiet time. So even after children are done napping, like when they're 2 or 3, whenever they stop napping, that you still have them have quiet time in the middle of the day where they look at books in their bed or do some puzzles, do something quiet so that you have a little bit of a break. And this is something that I wish I had done. For whatever reason, I stopped doing quiet time, and because of that, I don't really get a big break in my day, and I wish that that's something that I had kept up. So quiet time is just something that's very valuable for every person in the family because it can give everyone a break from each other, from the mom to the children and then the children to each other. They can have a little bit of time where they can regroup, and I've noticed when we have days with quiet time, there's less bickering in the afternoon because they had a little bit of time to themselves. So I would recommend having some sort of quiet time carved out in your day so that everyone can have a break. So those are my suggestions, and if you guys have any questions about anything that I said, please leave a comment down below. And this is a tag, so I wanted to tag someone, and I'm going to tag Jimmetta, and she has a YouTube channel called Perfectly Chaotic Nest. So I will have her channel linked down below if you're interested in checking it out, and I will go over and let her know that I tagged her for this Homemakers tag. So I hope that you all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next Monday. God bless you. Bye. And the question is that you want to become a homemaker. So I don't have advice.